All right, so what are we looking at here? And you went 2 and 3, is that what you did, David?
Yep.
And where are we at?
We're actually still good when we moved all those pennies or so.
So, and how many pennies total did we move? 3?
30.
And we still are at only 3.
Right. Just
So we're able to do 2 and 3
Right.
across the board.
Yep.
I'm not following you. What happened?
You mean 3 pennies out of debt service?
We moved 3 pennies. We started that movement with 3 pennies. One for
highway.
the highway, and then 2 for salaries.
Go click on that line and show them how much you got.
The highway.
No, we
So
weren't
those
moving anything
two-
out of highway, for highway. You were
Yeah,
taking
No,
it.
he's
the-
talking about
for the-
the.
for the
Hendersonville
Hendersonville
project.
project.
You're talking about exit A.
The
Yeah, for the intersection of the
Okay, you said highway.
No, sorry, no, no,
There's a
no,
big
sorry.
difference here.
You're right.
Okay.
Whatever, underpass, 664, 608. which is
Are we
what
turned back on?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, whoops.
No, it's on.
Oh, it's on, okay, good.
That's like, we'll have to go through verifications on all this stuff.
Yeah, but so right now, with just those 3 pennies, which we have said there's not gonna mess up our trajectory, we can do 2 and 3 across the board.
When you say 2 and 3, what is that?
2% for everybody who had ARPA, 3% for everybody who didn't.
Still got
Okay.
that plan.
And then, okay.
Insert it in there. We still gotta put plan.
And in grand total, or where are we sitting
Can you go back to the
versus our target?
general fund?
I think
Don?
you're pretty close.
Don.
to the target.
But what, like,
Are
give
you still
me,
make your motion?
Yeah.
give me more definitions, pretty close.
You're below 5.2, so you're good.
Okay, so 300, 200,000?
You're about 200 below it right now.
That's the change, which, that's where we needed to be. We needed to keep it under 5. I really wanted to keep it under like 4.2, but
And there's some adjustments still, like the circuit stuff's not in there, but
Yeah.
they're small. There's several small adjustments. And click on EMS and make sure it did pick up their changes. Just give it some tests, please.
Yeah, let's make sure these.
yeah, that these
calculations-
cells weren't, it looked like they might have been shifted
Yeah,
off.
let's not,
So let's take 80.
We really need a, we really
So
need
they
a
were supposed to be
tool.
like 50%.
We really need a tool.
That's expensive stuff. That's too much money for that.
79, 651 times 1.2. It looks correct. 1634, that's correct.
He's gonna make a motion on this, but, so I mean, I feel like we'll need to vote on this, whether we go 1 and, or what was it, 1 and 3 or 2 and 3? Or do you have a motion you wanna make?
Not on this, but on something
Something else?
else.
Oh, I wanna see, I wanna make sure.
EMA
It would affect, it would affect this,
Okay,
but
well,
not in a big way.
All right, go ahead.
What about EMA? They're still at 1%.
I mean, if we're gonna try to do it, I mean, do 2 for them too. Yeah, like, you know, I mean, it should be minimal. It should be nothing.
I think health, who's that other two there? Yeah, that's EMA.
All right, what do we look like?
Few small adjustments.
I mean, it's just almost nothing. It's- Did it work? Okay.
What did you adjust?
EMA, they were at 1%.
186.
It was like $3,000
It's
total.
2,000.
Yeah, it was nothing.
The 123, make sure it's legal.
All right, so let's verify this and let's ask if we're good with it. And then Don, I know you've got a motion.
Giving that money to the sheriff department too?
Yeah, we did 2 across the board and 3. 2 for non-ARPA, or 2 for ARPA, 3 for non-ARPA.
And we'll verify these over the next couple of days. Make a lot of changes here.
Yeah.
What now? We're waiting for it in total.
That's why it's happening, just don't get it, split it.
We should be done by 11. I think we'll be done by 11. We're pretty close.
We're,
He's just
we got a
verifying.
sidebar over here, so.
He's just verifying.
Where are we going after this? On the agenda. Where are we
No, you got a club you wanna go to?
I'm not going downtown right now. Where on the
I
agenda
think,
are we going?
Don had one thing he wanted to bring up, and then,
And I may not make it out of the building in one piece tonight
we
after my
already,
motion.
we already discussed the tax rate, I think we're done.
Well, okay, I've got a topic.
All right, we got two topics we'll get to after this.
Sounds like yours may be a long topic, or?
I don't think so. I think it's gonna be, I'll offer my
David, where we
rationale for
at?
why I'm bringing it
You're
after
good
it.
right now with
and-
the adjustments.
Okay. So let's do this.
Dispatchers. I mean, they were in the same situation,
Who?
What was the
the
question?
dispatchers. If we're gonna do it for one, we need to do it for all.
I think they did.
We did.
They were
They did.
already-
We already did.
Dispatchers were taken
They already
care of.
do.
We didn't change it because of the.
So we did 2% and 3%. All right,
And we're about 200?
No,
What are we at?
you're a lot more than
yeah, we're like 700.
Oh, I thought it was 200.
Yeah, I thought it was 200.
You're down to 4.3, which you're getting more back in line with your.
800 or 900.
You're looking a lot better to your historical. 'Cause if we pull our budget offline, you look, that's where we used to be close to. We've been creeping up on that number right there, way up last
So you wanted to stay at 5 million, right?
year. Yes.
I wanted to stay well under 5. I want to stay about 4.2, which
We're there.
we're there.
There's a few items
But we had to
look
take
at.
this. All right, let's go. Don, what did you want to bring up?
So the motion I'm gonna bring here tonight, and like shit, I may not make it out of here in one piece, but it's all right. All elected positions in their first year, first term, I don't want any COLA raises for, and here's my rationale for that, my thought. If you pulled papers and campaigned for an elected position, part of that responsibility was to be good stewards of taxpayer money, not to gain financially. Now, would I like to see this become permanent? Yes, but that's for another day.
There's an issue. with
Yeah, there's
that.
a state.
There's a couple issues. One, you
There
have
is? Okay.
the minimum salary, and we're at it, and actually, the general officers all make the same. The sheriff and highway makes the same, which is a percentage, percentage of those. The administrator of elections has a minimum that's a percentage of the assessment.
So even if it's a first year, first.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
It
nothing,
don't
it's
matter.
state statute.
Right. There's a statute.
I mean, I'm all about it.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
And
So
there
you were
are others in the
asking-
minimum.
Government is so bad.
You were asking basically not to give the COLA increases for those certain.
New employees.
First time.
Newly elected first time.
I mean-
To be fair to him too, because I brought him into this.
Yeah,
we're- we're
this position,
excoriating,
into
you
this. The last, about the county attorney, and that's why I'm bringing this forth. I felt like,
You want to
to
go
be
through some
fair
of these
to-
notes really quick with some of the issues we run into?
He's got really sharp.
Water's gonna be
elbows,
short of money
watch out.
next year, we've noticed. So let's go to, we've already
What-
did
what we-
that.
Well, wait, before we get there, so we can't do that one, I think, unfortunately, because of state statute.
State statute.
Mr. Becker?
So it's tied to next year's budget, but depending on the answer, we may be able to take care of it. And I think Mr. Long may need info from him, but in the current year's budget, I think there's around 1.2 million that was earmarked for the fire departments for capital projects.
700-something thousand left.
Okay, 700-something thousand. So my question is, that I think the Oak Grove was around 480.
460 something.
Okay, so
406.
406. So why, I know there was a request to take the 700 and
And
split
split it.
But like, why don't we just take of the 700 and spend the 406?
I think the original was to do the 406 and split the remainder.
Yeah, we were,
Yeah.
the question that we had was, at the time, and it looks like it might have been resolved, potentially, was, are we liable if we are,
When we
building
get
this?
to 1.2. So
You're not liable because it's a county building.
Well,
It's county-
Yeah.
I think there was
So
a
if
question
we get of that 1.2, which is 700 something left,
Yeah.
okay, so let's say 700. So then of that
Well,
700,
there's an
you
issue
go
now anyway.
406 for Oak
They've already spent a
Grove.
bunch they already spent 5 on a truck. Go over to that.
That's
He's not.
what I just said.
Yeah, no,
We started at
y'all are saying
1.2,
something.
we're at 7.
Yep,
You take the 406, it leaves roughly, 294. And then take the 294 and split it. Okay, is that the plan?
I
Motion.
don't think we have a plan.
Well, I'll make a motion right there.
So you're wanting to build the Oak Grove station?
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay,
You wanna take the rest and split it like evenly?
I wanna go
Correct.
to Q.
Go ahead.
It's evenly by department, not by.
Not by fire
station.
station.
Not by station.
So if you got one of the ones that had 3, you would still just get the same amount?
Correct.
Okay.
We have to establish a policy at some point, and I'm open for anything. I mean, I'm happy to build that fire station. However, what is our responsibility as a county?
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Because, and you know what, he's got 2 pumpers, he's got an ambulance in there, and he's got a 3-bay, building with living quarters for EMS, and a very small area for his actual fire department people. But he's got a brush truck and 2 tankers, which would give him 6 bays, but of all the volunteer fire departments I've seen, the biggest one is Shackle Island, that's got 4 bays and an ambulance that's apparently too small.
Amos Bay is.
Castalian Springs is 3 bays, Bethpage is 3 bays, and I don't know.
Cottontown is 3.
Cottontown is 3, that's right, Cottontown is 3. So I'm not sure how to create parity here, I really don't.
I know how
But,
it
but,
would
but,
be very
but
expensive.
we set up the 1.2 and told the fire departments as a whole, collectively, to let us know how they want to spend the money. And so they made that request. So going back to the earlier comment, if we're sitting here dictating to them how they can do their day-to-day operations, I feel that we're putting ourselves at risk there.
So wait, can
So
I
we
ask
got
a
the
question?
406, we got the money, it's earmarked for them, let's do it. So I made a motion, there's a second, I want to vote for it.
Well, okay, what's
Just
the
a quick question, I
conversation
want to
here?
make sure I understood this correctly. So they agreed to give them 406? all the
Previous
fire-
commission.
the Previous
No,
commission?
no. The total of 1.2.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was previous commission, 1.2, but it was for all the fire, all the fire departments. And the fire departments were gonna work together to determine how they wanna best use that money. And so we bought the Highland Fire Department a tanker.
They brought an engine.
They bought an engine.
And
So that was.
we paid for it, or? was
Correct.
it a
Of that
grant?
Out of debt
1.2.
service.
The old
Oh, okay.
commission.
Out of debt service.
Yeah,
They
of that
approved
1.2.
But
And so
they're
now there's-
all okay with, I don't mean to cut you off, but they're all,
have
they,
to
as a collective unit, all the volunteer
Yes.
fire departments are okay with giving this gentleman 406 for his
Yes.
department and then splitting the rest among, and there's
Yes.
no like, oh, this guy's got a bigger fire hall than.
We
All right.
try to support each other.
Oh, go
So
ahead.
there's no jealousy, I hate to use that
So-
word, but, yeah.
Go ahead.
Last year, I made a motion to move that money from hospital fund, got rejected to do that. So there's also on this sheet on the ARPA sheet, for the Oak Grove 406, 696.
Yeah, why don't we do
On ARPA, right now, it's already allocated for that. And you got you're talking about the $700,000, and we're sitting here taking pennies out of debt service, which obviously I'm not happy about, but you got pennies that you've already moved out of debt service that's now in the general funds there. So, I mean, if you're going to do this, I think you should do it out of ARPA.
I kind of.
And if you're going to
It's
use
already
that
allocated.
$700,000, in my opinion, you put that back in the general fund for
I
other
agree with
things.
that.
And we pull that money back for stuff we need it for.
Motion to amend his to do exactly that, move it from ARPA.
I mean, that's where it's at right now. There's no,
Where's the 1.2? The 1.2's in there.
It's in the general fund.
the
So
$700,000
general.
is still in the general fund, but I'm just saying, as far as like,
And there's 400 in ARPA already.
already earmarked.
Oh, okay,
It's on
I
the sheet.
forgot that.
It's on the sheet.
Well,
That's my
I think we
motion.
pulled it out.
You guys pulled it out.
Okay, so we pulled it out.
Okay.
So is it-
Did we? I didn't remember
It
doing
was
that.
pulled out, I thought
Okay.
we
But
did
we've
that.
got it. We have the.
You can put it
It's
back
not
in.
Let's,
updated.
so motion, I would move to amend
Well-
that, to put it
Go
from,
to the
But I-
schedule first and see what's going
I
on.
want to talk about the $700,000.
Here's
Because
your
here, you're pulling pennies out of debt service.
but we only did it once. It's gonna go back into the general fund.
Go to that new.
I know, but I mean, we're talking about you're cutting asphalt.
Well,
I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, it's,
but if
They're
we, but if
getting-
we give that from asphalt, that's gonna increase maintenance of effort.
Yeah.
well, I know, I'm sure, I don't want to do
If,
that.
if they can get the 406 out of the ARPA fund, then the remaining 700,000, yes, that's up for discussion, what we do
Yeah.
with it. Whether whether we
It's a county building.
split it there
But
or do whatever.
here's my problem with that, with the resource authority is the lease versus the quick claim deed. I mean, I don't want a lease from the resource authority to build a county building, and I'm not gonna vote for that. It has to be county property to build that county building for me.
Okay,
to
I mean,
support this
that
kind of
makes
thing.
sense too.
Has there been talk about them quit claiming?
We talked about it tonight.
The Resource Authority, they agreed to do a quick claim deed.
All right, so we can make a contingent on that then.
Yes.
Well,
So,
that's right, but my
But
point
they're
is,
leasing the property,
Yeah,
I think.
I'm in agreement with that.
But then they found out that they were leasing the property to the county.
yeah, but
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm
they can
saying,
still
so
quick
don't
claim
own
it.
Something to quit claim is the problem.
Or they're leasing it to us.
They're leasing it
They're
to
leasing
us.
So we can read.
No,
They
they're
can own
leasing
it.
the property.
they're leasing it to us.
They can still quick claim.
The resource is leasing it to the
Oh, I'm
county.
sorry, I thought you said the resource authority was getting a lease.
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
here, let me make a motion to amend this. I'm gonna make a motion to amend what you just said, to have that, the 406 only, to come out of ARPA with the 700,000 plus going back into the general fund, and that is contingent on
quick claim
the quick
deed.
claim,
Second.
a quick claim deed.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we're on the main.
Correct.
All in favor? Aye.
What is the main one?
The main is my, it's basically what I just said.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, there you go.
Let me ask you a question now. No, I appreciate it. It's good, but I want to clarify. You're saying get a quick claim deed for the property that the building's gonna sit on?
For the county building, yes.
Yes.
And if
Okay,
you want
'cause
to-
see,
Because we want a
The
county
county-
building on county property.
Okay, the county building that's there now, that EMS and Oak Grove is sharing,
Is on leased
is
property.
on leased property.
If we can get a quick claim
But then
for
you
all
give
of
it
it.
all.
Yeah, I mean, we're, yeah,
Okay, that's what
that's,
I'm, now,
Maybe the piece of.
I'll call Larry tomorrow.
all right. I mean,
I'll bet you can do it.
there we go. Okay,
yeah, that's
I
why,
remember.
yeah, it's all there, and that was what I
Didn't know
wanted to, I didn't want to get in this,
No,
Okay.
it should all be on the same property.
okay.
all right.
So the 762, Matt, is estimated to be spent this year. If we make it zero, we'll just kick up this year sometime.
That's fine.
That sounds good.
That's good. That helps
Makes
us.
me a little happy.
Yeah, there you go. You can buy me a beer.
If
So
we
then-
an hour now.
So what's next on that?
What's next
Let's go to the
is,
issue. Let's go to the-
I actually think we maybe, you had a couple little small items.
We
Well, we need to
need,
look
we
at
need
the
to talk about
Rocky-
HR at some point.
Oh, well, yeah, we do need to go. Did I just skip that?
Yeah.
Oh, man, my bad. Okay, we'll get to HR. Do we want to do these small things? Let's do these small things and skip HR to the end. Let's do these. It shouldn't take long.
First, we need to look at the utilities, because as we're looking, ECC looks low, the juvenile's in there for the whole year, and the water should be at least $100,000 for short, so we probably need to go there and work on some of the utilities. We were looking at what's going on now.
Is it material?
No, do you just want us to adjust it with the mayor after this?
Yes.
Tomorrow?
Yes.
You fine with that, John?
All right.
The other one is there's a $50,000 Meraki software and capital that needs to be moved over to general fund.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't think anybody's gonna
Anything
issue
else
that.
you Going down, one point of information, the budget committee said for the elevator to be put into this year. Kim was to talk to the sheriff back in March, nobody's got back with us, so we don't have any numbers for that to do with it, so the elevator's not in.
I mean, we can't put it in there
I'm
then.
going down, I think that's everything that has to be.
That's in the jail.
Yeah.
Going down, I think that's everything for tonight, isn't it?
Okay. Anything else?
And there's some reserve, it's this other stuff that we handle later, that's all material.
All right, let's talk about HR. Do you want to make a comment, Mr. Becker? I've got a couple thoughts, but go ahead.
I would, going back to the comment I made earlier tonight, I would like to know what services, I would like to map out current services to what it would look like, split up between, I guess if I recall, between the finance and the law department.
We talked about that last time, budget.
Sits in hearings.
Yeah, correct. So like what services would, oh, did you talk, yeah. I missed
Yeah,
that.
I think you were gone.
So what services was it then that will?
So
It was the,
Enrollment's what we can do.
enrollment would be handled by finance, escalations and issues, and I wanna bring up an issue about this one after talking to, the HR director. I have one comment. But issues and escalations would go to legal, generally speaking. So,
and that employee would be absorbed by legal,
yeah.
because half the job is that already.
And I mean, and then recruiting is done by the individual departments anyway. Policy development, I don't know that got done. Wherever it happened, ahead of time or during, it just didn't get done, so those are the major things. Did I miss anything?
Policy development used to be legal with the officials, but it doesn't.
So here's a question I've got. And, some of this has to do with just the way county government is structured. Like, so each of these individual offices are elected offices, and they're not, they're not beholden to the county mayor. And if HR is under the county mayor, like what, there's nothing that you can, they have no authority there. So, but I do have a question, and it's just a practical question of in business, if a person's got an issue, like I'm just thinking about the individual person, and I've got an issue with my chain of command or my up the chain with my boss, HR does serve as catchment for that, and they have two lines typically in a business. HR will have a line to the CEO, which would be kind of analogous to the county mayor, and they'll also have a line to the board of directors in case the CEO is part of the issue. And I don't know I don't know how to accomplish that in this. The issue here is purely about structure of like a government organization versus a private organization, when I really wrap my head around it. But I do worry about that gap. Like I'm a person, I've got an issue, where do I go? That isn't up the chain to up my own. Anyway, I don't know, I don't have a way to solve it, I'm just.
But Mr. Chairman, if you live in Tennessee, according to the state constitution, there is nothing
Yeah,
you can
I
do,
know.
because if Carolyn has an employee back there and she has a disagreement with Carolyn, and Carolyn, not that Carolyn's hard to get along with, but she may terminate that employee, and it doesn't matter how many
Yeah.
people they go to or talk with. They better talk it out with Carolyn, because she will be it. And that's Tennessee.
That's just the state law. I mean,
It's just the way it is.
Well, using your analogy, I'm kind of in a position because I'm hired at the behest of the board of directors in your example. So I'm kind of easily shoved into that category, and then looks like I'm working against whoever would make a complaint with me. The only other option I would see would be ethics and conduct.
well, that was actually where I was going with this. And I've held this from the beginning, that the way this was implemented, it had some gaps, and
It did.
and there's no, it's not punitive anywhere. It's just there's gaps, and so I'm wondering I don't want to just commit committees for committees, but I mean, is there something? Should we do some ad hoc somewhere? And I don't think it comes out of budget, but a legislative or somewhere to study.
Like you talking about if there's a complaint against.
Yeah, something.
That their ethics committee would.
Yeah, I'm
know
not saying
about that.
ethics, but like a personnel committee. I don't know, something, because again, those are still elected officials, right?
The problem is, you still, if Carolyn fires somebody and they come to you,
What can you do?
you still can't
Nothing you can do.
anything.
I mean, that's not a problem, that's not a problem to solve, honestly.
I mean,
It's
maybe
not
it's
to
just
solve
something we
the
can't
problem
solve.
that exists.
Maybe it's
We
because
can't.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to make it analogous to a
It's-
business,
but
and
it's
maybe it's
not.
just not.
It's not,
So,
so. I'm
I
gonna
guess
stop you.
maybe that's a
Man,
good way to
it's
put it.
just-
So with the new, the proposed, I guess, the proposed structure, are there any gaps? Maybe that's the best way. What are the gaps?
I'd like to hear from John.
Well, what I think, you know, and I've said this from the beginning, that I didn't feel that it was implemented properly.
Right.
I didn't think that Cheryl had a solid footing from the very beginning. And there's always been friction between finance and HR. I mean, I've set them both down to try to define responsibilities and talk to them about it. What I would like to do, because I see value in HR, and I think all the other counties do too. What I'd like to do is maybe get with some county mayors, talk to them about their HR departments, and let's see if there is a map forward. And there may not be. I mean, we may come to the conclusion that Sumner County is an anomaly amongst other counties, and that we don't need an HR. I kind of find that hard to believe, but it is implemented in other counties. So let's take a step back and talk about that.
You want us to put it back for now to see what?
What's the dollar amount that was removed?
I have a suggestion.
Well, it's somewhere under 181,664, that was with the 6% cost of living. It's somewhere below 181,000.
Because we kept, the only cut was the personnel, or what?
No, there was some cost for some software.
Yeah, there was some.
Like supplies and data lines and things that a normal
Oh.
office has.
Here's the only note I would like to make is that we have, like, I tend to think that if something's not implemented, like the simplest thing to do is, and maybe we do go back and study it, but we don't continue doing something. We made a decision last time, I think, that we're relatively comfortable with, but I would like to give the HR director 60 days of, budgeted pay, severance, whatever we want to call it, to help transition the duties of that office to the other offices. So I would like to make that motion, 60 days. So we would continue to dissolve the HR department, but there would be a 60-day transition period, and in that period of time, the HR director would be tasked with ensuring that those duties are absorbed by these other two departments.
You talking from June 1 or from July 1?
From whenever June 1, whenever the July 1. So I guess it'd be 90 days from now. So 60 days, 90 days from that adoption.
Right, so that'd be.
No, go ahead.
Well, just my 2 cents, I'm old enough to remember when there weren't HR departments in private businesses. And so I don't even understand today what they do. I mean, when we first I had a business in '97 that we sold, and they brought in HR, and I'm like, what's HR? And they dealt with insurance and for employees and stuff, and I thought, and this is kind of a waste of money, but anymore, they're kind of a legal authority, as I understand, in a nonprofit organization that I'm on the board of directors for. So I'm kind of with Jerry. I don't even know what they do. And with John saying, maybe we'll be an anomaly, maybe we won't. I totally appreciate these guys saying, we can do without her, or in some cases, maybe HR is an obstacle for them, but I don't know the whole gamut. I'm having a real hard time understanding how I should vote on this, because I'm totally in the dark with it.
I mean, if that department goes away, and I'm just brainstorming, I guess at this point, and I don't even know if Cheryl would want to do this, but is there another department in the county, because I hate to see anybody lose their job no matter what it is. Is there another department in the county that she could use her skill set in? I don't know what that is. That's just a question I'm just trying to just put out there. If we do dissolve it, I mean.
Not that I'm aware of, unless, the sheriff's department picks her up, but That I don't.
I mean, but the decision here, we're gonna be super clear. The decision here is not about a person.
Right.
No, I
The
understand.
decision here is
I said
about
her, I
a
shouldn't have.
department.
Right.
And the decision is about, how are these duties being accomplished? And where should they be accomplished? And you said this earlier, and I kinda am with you, like, as long as the duties are getting done, how, like, who and how, to me, is irrelevant.
It is.
But, given that we don't, what I'm saying is, given that I don't think any of us here have a full grip on what's being done, I'm just suggesting that we give the party who has been overseeing these functions 60 days to transition them. It's about the getting the service, getting those functions transitioned. That's my motion. Nobody's seconded.
Policy's something that's never gotten.
What was your comment?
Policy,
I don't know.
which is
Not gonna
something
get a
that's
second.
mentioned earlier.
I mean, I understand
Each
it's a
office has their
department.
policies, but the policies through this county and job descriptions have never been fully vetted or even.
No, I'm
So
just.
there's a
I'm
job
just-
description, yeah.
Uh,
But when we tried to hire a
countywide
law
job
director,
description.
no one had a job description.
That's what I'm saying, that's something that is an HR function.
Yeah. So,
Do we go back and look at that's the case?
hold on one second, if you don't mind. Help me understand. Let's say the sheriff, there's a new employee that's hired. Okay. What happens today and what happens in proposed?
So
Well,
let's-
today, HR does the onboarding process,
Which is what?
which is benefits and explain, everything with personnel policies per the sheriff. The sheriff sends them over here. And they do that function, gets them on board. And then payroll will be done through the finance department.
So in the proposed,
Everything goes to finance.
So we'd be onboarding, but we still would be handling things like personnel policies, job descriptions.
Who's doing that now?
It's not happening. I'm saying that's something that, right now, HR's focused on onboarding. Really, it would probably be a better use of HR. My thought is if they were working on policies and procedures and job descriptions.
But per the original comment here, HR puts out a policy, the sheriff's department says, go pound sand.
Well, I'm saying they could work with them, they don't necessarily.
Like, I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just saying
Well,
like,
and-
I agree with that,
and-
but
Well,
that's-
and that's just within the constitutional officers.
yeah.
So, we still have
Well,
a lot of people out there that aren't under constitutional officers.
Right.
And they work with the constitutional officers as well. And so they can work with the constitutional officers because as a constitutional officer, I'm not an expert in writing job descriptions or policies. I would want to turn to an expert in HR to do that. And I think the other constitutional officers would say the same thing. I don't want to speak for them, but
That's something that's never happened in this county. We have 1,000 employees. There's not job descriptions tied back into those personnel policies tied with who's exempt and non-exempt. I'm not saying they can enforce anything with elected officials, but they can work with them. Get those policies out, get those job descriptions. That's something that legal reviewed in the past, but they never really worked with them. And we definitely did.
so what's, go
What are you
ahead.
trying to do here?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, go ahead. Is there a motion? I made a motion that didn't get a second.
What was your motion? I didn't hear it.
To continue to dissolve the office, but do 60 days for transition, but I didn't get a second.
Have we considered the possibility of maybe not just doing away with the HR function altogether, but possibly even just outsourcing it? And here's where my worry is coming from the private sector. Let's say that we transition some of these duties to Mr. Sittler. Let's say we transition some other additional duties to Mr. Long. So, and then what happens if you have an employee in those offices, and I'm just spitballing here, let's say there's a sexual harassment claim. Who do they go to?
That was my question.
And so I think that is a valid question. I mean, this is 2023, and they happen all the time. I just don't see a way that I can support just completely absolving the whole department, or at least the concept. Maybe it's outsourced, but I just can't see just completely doing away with it. Again, policies, job descriptions, sounds like we're way short on the stick here all the way
It
around.
sounds like we need somebody to handle.
We need somebody.
Well,
I think if I heard everyone sort of
But
agreed.
it's more than just cutting a check.
Correct.
And it's an important part, but
Finance
it's more than just.
they've always done it.
What have we-
Mr. Sidley played the-
We've done this for
Hold on a
decades.
second.
I'm
We
making
got
a
several-
motion to stick with what we did during the budget hearing and dissolve.
All right.
And
Is there-
reallocate
Is there a
it.
second here?
I'd like to hear from, she
Okay.
asked to speak, I would like.
All right, let's-
There's a, yeah.
Go ahead,
Okay.
ma'am.
Human Resources just does not handle onboarding. They handle benefits administration. I'm skilled to do compensation. I've been a compensation manager. I've been an employee relations manager. I'm a generalist. I do training and development. HR is just not onboarding. It's providing compliance, serving in a safety director mode, working with OSHA, following the annual compliance that has to go up. You're also dealing with FMLA, leave. The county has never been able to get their fingers around it. I'm skilled at doing that. I'm skilled at writing job descriptions. My first task, there is a job description for my position, which I was hired for. Mayor Holt had me come in. The first assignment was to do a compensation study that had never got off the ground from previous years, that the finance department had put out an RFP. It didn't happen. I came in and I produced that work within 6 months of being here. Everything I had been tasked to do, when I came in, I was under the auspices of doing benefits administration. I say my last job, the city where I worked, $300,000 the first year I was there, because I know how to carve out benefits that are cost savings and effective for the employees and for the organization. I didn't see that money in my pocket. I saved the city $300,000 by carving out and retooling the benefits. Our benefits are antiquated here. In 20-something plus years, there have been no benefit changes. We're doing the same old thing. There is no training and development. We talked about the phishing and the scamming. Employees sat right in here and said they've never done any type of training and development, whether it was for safety and development, unless it was specifically job specific and safety sensitive areas. This gentleman, Brad Williams, I hired him in White House. I worked in White House in 2011 to 2013. And I worked with Chief Palmer to carve out a safety training program, health, safety, wellness fair that benefited. Won a state award for that. Those are the things that we do. Employee relation issues. We make sure that we're in compliance to help the CEO, the mayor, the administrator, finance department to maintain those things. Audits. We're heavily involved in audits. Workers' comp, liability. Those are things that I'm familiar with administering. We're self-insured. That is very rare. Most people have a TPA group that they work with. I served on a Tennessee symposium for workers' comp benefits. So I have a master's degree in organizational communication. I have 2 international certifications as a human resource director. Again, I serve as the international president of the Public Management Association. I've been the state president of the Tennessee Personnel Management Association. I've served in Kentucky as the Kentucky CUPA, College and University Personnel Association. I've worked with heads of states. I work with the governor's office. I work with the state HR department. I'm here to protect your dollars. If somebody is terminated for whatever reason, and I deal with the state workers' labor force to ensure that those dollars are protected, that your organization is not sued. I work collegially with directors, whether it's legal, finance, each department, and I've helped with recruitment. I know how to run a recruitment fair. We need to look at policies, our application policies. We don't have an applicant tracking system. We don't even have a compensation policy. That's unheard of. We have no salary grades, no performance reviews. All of that is a component of a human resources department.
Can I ask something real quick? So
Yeah.
you listed off all of the things in your kind of level of capability there, and how long have you been here, ma'am?
I've been here 2 years.
So
They recreated this position.
I guess my question is, and this just gets back, and it's, if a person of your caliber couldn't get those things implemented in 2 years, then clearly we've done something. The way we implemented this had some problems about it. Because so
Same question, same,
And I was
Yeah.
told I could not ask
No,
for
second your
additional
motion.
help. I was told I could
Yeah,
not
I'm-
ask for an additional position, and that we were not to discuss the compensation.
so we've got a. I'm
had a
gonna.
motion.
Well, I had a motion. I mean, it did
What
not
was
get a
your
second.
motion,
My
Glenn?
motion was to go through with this, but to give 60 days
Second.
post. So we got a second, and just to be clear, this is post July 1st to make sure that all of these functions are transitioned.
Just to be clear, I thought we already had a motion on the floor.
No, it didn't have a
It
second.
didn't have a
Oh, you
second.
did-
No, I put that
Oh, I
motion. It
thought you
didn't
made
have.
a motion.
It didn't have a second.
It didn't have a second
Oh, I'm
either. We've been
sorry.
kind of
I
talking.
got it.
Go ahead.
so it's not clear, I completely understand your question, because I was gonna ask the same question. So what, you provided a list of things that are missing that should be there. I'm struggling to understand why, what has been what have the roadblocks been? Is it just you don't have the manpower or the resources to implement any of that?
We don't have the manpower, we don't have the tools, we don't have the access. It has never been clearly delineated as to, we will completely do benefits. I know how to administer benefits. I know how to set up a benefit plan. I know how to do onboarding. I'm used to facilitating onboard tracking systems. We don't have anything. I can put job descriptions together. The compensation study provided those job descriptions because we never had those here. We are so far behind progressively. And it's not a good thing, but we can get there. Somebody, for whatever reason, in 2020 or 2021 had the foresight to bring HR back. Why did they have foresight to bring it back if they were going to cease it fall?
So we've got.
Why?
Do you have we have a motion a second. Do you have a?
I have a question. If, being a man in private industry all my life, if I hired somebody of your caliber to do this, I would expect you to do it.
And no one has given me the latitude. They will not tell Mr. Long that he needs to turn over the administration to. I can't pull, the files are not even
So
in my
we have a.
list.
We've got a motion and a second, and I think we've got some discussion back and forth. Do we have? And we haven't had, rules are suspended, so I don't know that we need to call the question. Are there any other questions here?
I'm concerned that there's some functionality and some responsibilities that are needed that.
Do you have a motion though? I mean, it's.
No, I'm just saying that that it's a discussion on the motion on the
Okay.
floor, right? I'm concerned that we don't, that there's responsibilities that are needed or tasks that are needed that won't be picked up by the proposed solution. And so.
Do you have an alternative? I
I-
mean,
well,
I'm happy to
I
consider
think-
it.
I think, you know,
I mean-
there are companies that contract out HR services, right?
But
So I think that's a separate.
The functions were always, there wasn't a problem before, till we
Well,
created
that's
this
the-
new
but
department.
that's the thing, but I mean, I
There
would
wasn't a
argue-
problem before.
So I think
Nothing
we
ever
can
fell
do-
apart.
Well, it's because no one's ever,
So here's-
they're 20-year-old, like, who knows about how much
So
money they
here's,
can save on
here's,
benefits?
here's what I think. I would argue that that is a separate thing that you could make a motion to.
We've actually
To-
paid for job descriptions, that's what I call them.
You can make a motion. I think these are separate things.
Say,
It-
They,
You can make a
yet
motion
they
in.
were continuing to be contracted.
Well, we've got, so thank you guys for the commentary. So we've got a motion, and if yours is, I feel like it's a second motion, which we could make after we do this one, which is a totally separate motion, which would be, you know, do we want to consider setting aside 1 year's worth of funds to bring in a, you know, a third party to write policies, do these things, fill these gaps that we're worried about. But that's a totally separate thing. So, you know, do you disagree? I think there's the issue to note that the, you know, the implementation issues we've had with the existing, which are the fault of no one, I mean, or the fault of everyone, how, it doesn't really matter. Implementation issues exist. Continue or dissolve. We have a motion to dissolve with 60-day transition, and then you have a different idea. You could try to amend mine, or you could.
well, I'm just trying to.
Make a totally
what
separate
I guess
motion.
what I don't know is of the items that aren't mapped out on the proposed solution, are those items, would they be capable of being handled in our as-is HR department?
I mean, well, we've got. I mean, we've got 60 days to kind of. We would actually have 90 days. I mean, if we can't transition this in 90 days, and then, you know, we've got, and we could always appropriate funds. We've got 90 days to transition everything.
Let's think about in the real world. If there's an employee that, whoever, regardless of who it is, they've basically been given a 90-day notice, they're not gonna, they'd be looking for other employment, so we're not gonna get the full 90 days, most likely. So you're suggesting 90 days, as long as they stay on.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's.
At first, I thought you were talking about maybe some type of severance, but.
Well, I mean, we're just remaining employed for 60 days post. I mean, we're still running out 5 weeks, so it's 90 days from this point.
But I guess I'm not certain what tasks or responsibilities need to be transitioned.
But that's the whole point here. We don't know. We're saying you've got 90 days to
Maybe
get it.
be transitioned to a contracted HR service.
Well, yeah, or you can begin the transition, and then we don't, you know, we don't know that we want to. We don't know what we don't know here, I think, is the thing. We brought something on 2 years ago, and
We're transitioning the services back to where they came from. That's what
yeah,
we're doing.
we're just resetting the clock.
And so
I
in
mean,
doing so, we're, I guess, acknowledging that.
we're just
The
resolving.
items that we, you know, the benefit package or whatever that's 20 years old, we're acknowledging we're good with that. Even though we may be able to save money by looking at it.
Well, it hasn't been saved in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
Well, I understand that.
so, I mean, nothing's stopping us from still looking at it next year, I mean.
I just think these are. I mean, I'm not saying I would be against your motion, by the way. I'm just saying that, like, these are two separate things. There's the do we bring on a third party, and then there's the do we dissolve the existing system and just roll back 2 years. I think these are two separate things that are both worth discussing. I have a motion and a second on the one. Any other? Are we gonna vote? We're ready to vote?
So what is this motion?
This is to dissolve the department. But with 60 days of transition, beginning, July 1st, when this next fiscal year turns around.
It's a motion and a second. So we're
Motion
waiting
and a
a minute.
second. All right, last question.
One
then we'll go.
last question.
I'm getting the cue
Mr. Hyde was going to say something a little earlier, and I'm all ears if he's got any wisdom to convey.
I was.
Yeah, you went like this.
Okay. At one point, I was going to say, we were talking about what will we do, what will we do? And this is not, I reiterate, this is not about a person. It's about money that we've got to have to balance a budget. But I was going to answer that question by saying that since 1786, we had a personnel office for 2 years. So for over 200 years, we did okay.
That was the very first time, it was 2 years ago.
We had another personnel director for a short period of time, very short period of time.
All right. Motion in the second is to continue with dissolution, 60 days. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
2 opposed, motion carries. Do you want to make another motion relevant to,
I don't think it needs to happen tonight, well, maybe it does.
I mean, if we would appropriate,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, maybe, I'll just throw out, I don't even know, I don't know what the appropriation cost would be for HR services.
go ahead,
I would like to comment on this.
go ahead.
I know you're shocked, and everybody's ready to go home, but I will say this, so I realize that our county has functioned without an HR department for very, very long. As an attorney, I've been appalled at the lack of support that department heads and elected officials get on this front. And I'm only fortunate that I have a law degree, and my best friend from law school has been an HR consultant for years and years and years, that I have access to that. FMLA has extremely strict rules on when you have to send that notice. It's a liability issue, and the county is self-insured. So I'm not, whatever you guys do is fine, but please don't assume that because we haven't had it,
Well,
that everything's been fine.
Can I ask you a question?
It's
Has
just-
it been,
so-
has it improved in the last 2 years with the way we currently implemented it?
Well,
She's a constitutional officer.
I agree that I do not think it was implemented correctly and was never conveyed to any of the departments or the department heads what the function was. Since this discussion has all come up and I've learned a whole lot more, I would actually be utilizing this office in a much broader way, but that was never even conveyed to us on what the function of HR was. And we don't ever hardly know what goes to finance and what goes to HR. And I mean, but like Bedford County does consult, they have an HR consultant. They have there's tons of counties with HR departments that are doing this and doing it successfully, that I think that Mayor Isbell's suggestion for him to get together with some, moving forward.
I don't think there's anything that stops that from happening.
Sure,
So-
I agree.
And finance gets everything anyway,
Please
so it all goes to
don't let
finance.
this gap just stay now forever. Because the fact that we were forced to function without any of this aid, you really open the county up to a lot of liability. I mean, if somebody's abusing their FMLA and a department head doesn't know how to properly terminate that person and take the right steps, you're opening the county up to liability.
I'll make a motion
We're dealing with that right now with a person that she's been helping with FMLA.
What's your,
With one of our janitorial personnel, and Cheryl's been helping with that.
So I'm making a motion
I'll
to
get you in a minute.
appropriate $80,000 for HR, contracted HR services.
I'll second that one, I want to amend it. For 1 year. 1 year, and as with a some very specific terms. All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No.
Motion fails.
Mr. Sutton,
Can
you
we,
could.
what,
Well,
3:30?
Can we, well, it's,
One thing I can point out right now is if you want us to, there's time, we could renotice the 5th. The way you could finish these few hearings, that, especially if you're, this one right here, if you need more time for it. You wouldn't have to make this decision and we'd have time to bring it back to you.
well, I mean, I feel like, I don't know that it's gonna change anything.
Okay.
Let's go ahead
I'm
and
just saying we can
Can I
renotice
ask
the
a
meeting to
question
have a
on-
hearing on the
On
5th.
those who voted no to that, is it the 80,000 or is it, is
Well,
it
let's,
just a dollar?
because we had voice, so I voted yay,
It was 3-3.
yay,
It was
nay.
tied.
Not, well, yeah, but that means it fails,
Fails, yeah.
so.
So I'll make a motion to appropriate $50,000 for 1 year. I mean,
I'm not gonna like
No,
just-
no, it's my question.
I'm not gonna back
Is it the
that
dollar
one.
amount or is it having any HR function? I'm just
I don't know.
curious. I mean, for those who voted no, I'm assuming you know why you voted no.
I
I
mean,
remember, I've said it multiple times in 2 meetings, I mean, I don't know.
Can you say it a third time or another time?
I mean, all the functions already being done by finance for all intents and purposes and legal anyway. And it was being done before, so I mean, a lot of these things, I just, at this point, I'm not, I mean, we made a motion, we discussed that in the budget hearings. We did had about this plan, that came up then. Separation of duties or going back to where they really came from. I mean, that's just,
I will tell
make the
you,
motion you want to, but I'm just.
I will tell you, Jerry, I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna rely
Yeah.
on,
And
The
he
mayor.
said we need it, so,
He said to go study it.
yeah.
He said we-
So, okay, so we can study it, so that's what I'm saying, appropriating the money, I'd like to get it in the budget if we need it. So I'm not
I mean,
saying we don't.
I voted for that.
So that was
But we also have another chance, we got 90 days here, you know, there's nothing that stops us from being, if this process
Yeah, that's fair,
doesn't
too.
play out well, and like all of a sudden, Mr. Long is like, oh goodness,
Mm.
this is not good, we've got, and in that time, Mr. Isbell will be able to go out and make his rounds, and then we'll be able to make an actual appropriation with money that makes sense based on data.
Okay.
and that's all, and I'll just say it's only fair for me because Commissioner Becker asked why we voted no. So of the opinion that, kind of piggybacking off what you said, we got 90 days. Worst case scenario, like you said, if something's wrong, Commissioner Harrison made the comment that we could always outsource it if that's an option.
Well, that's
So
what-
I feel like we
that's
got
what the
some
motion was.
options if something,
Yeah, my motion is just to have the money there if we want the house.
but we can still revisit
We
that.
can-
yeah, we've still got time. to
So,
decide.
Mr. Long, anything else
It
here,
may be
or is there
short,
one more
but-
motion we need
I
for?
would ask right now, probably because you have got everything pretty much, but you may want to look at it a little closer on the 5th, if we renotice the meeting. It says to consider and publish your budget, but you may want to add also in there to adjust it for hearings in case you run into anything else.
That's fine,
Is that fine?
that's fine.
There, renotice it?
Without objection, is that good?
Yeah.
All right, we're good. One more
And
motion.
so I'm saying,
Oh, go
so
ahead.
The tax rate is,
Tax rate, he did that earlier.
I
Yeah.
do have a
I just
quick
wanna-
question.
Okay.
We're gonna raise Hendersonville's taxes.
All right, well, let's do, can wait. All right,
motion adjourned.
all right, go ahead. Well, we have a motion to adjourn, second.
You ain't want any more cookies, take them home with them?